right.
Sure.
So I'm Tim Boyko. I'm the head of strategic growth at Hire. And with me, we have the awesome executive coach, Ron Kardashian.
Thank you, sir.
And today we titled the session, and again, we keep these very authentic and real. So we title it, and then we really go with the flow. And on today's session, we titled Building Winning Cultures. And I'm going to start with a quote from Dr. Daniel Kahneman out of Ron's amazing book, The 30-Second Solution. And the quote here is when the prefrontal cortex works right, people follow through on their goals despite obstacles. And I'm like, there can't be a better quote about how to build a winning culture than tying it to what's happening in the brain. And so
100.
if you haven't been with us the last few weeks, later today, I'll put the link on our YouTube playlist where you can watch the past episodes. But really building a winning culture within a team starts with building a winning culture from within. And so the last few weeks we talked, I'm not going to go through everything, so it was a lot that Coach Ron went through, but go back, listen to them. There's a lot of golden nuggets inside of every single one of those episodes. But now we want to move forward from coming from winning within to creating winning cultures for winning teams. And so with that, I want to position over to Coach Ron.
Yeah.
And as leaders are always concerned about building, how do I build a winning culture? How do I build a
Yeah.
culture where people feel fulfilled and we're accelerating and growing as a team? And how do we keep things, what are things to look for that eat away at a winning culture? Because that's just as important.
Great question. Very, very powerful, very simple answer. It lies in clarity of vision, purpose, and mission. In fact, we have this cute saying here at Lee Confidant and at Higher Tech, our tech company. Um, of course, there's two things that just hit my head all of a sudden. But the first one is in order to become an MVP, you have to have an MVV, mission, vision, value. A mission, vision, value. Now, I coach alongside 1 trillion in revenue from Facebook all the way down to the small entrepreneur who's doing 200,000 a year. I had a guy just join our executive coaching program. He makes 110,000. He works for Applied Materials. You can be at any economical state to take your game to the next level. And I'll tell you why. This individual, let me use a little bit more of a prominent one, but I wanted to say that in terms of context about the culture within establishes the culture outside you. So if you believe that you are a wealthy person, that you are worthy to be coached, a lot of people think I'm not worthy of that. I can't afford that. That's a belief system. So that creates an outward belief system, an outward manifesto. So coaching this guy he's an entrepreneur, does very well, Bitcoin multimillionaire. And we sat down and I said to him, do you have a vision? What do you see? Vision for sight, mission for purpose. Vision is the plan, mission is the execution. Vision is the planning, vision is what you see. And he said, this has been my struggle the last 10 years. While I have a lot of money, I have no purpose behind it. And a lot of people are starting to come to this reality that, yeah, I'm working in corporate America, but I don't have any purpose. You can shake that nest immediately by developing your own purpose. Like what am I on the earth for? That's the first place you have to start. Because if the company, we'll jump back to the CEO here, doesn't have a vision for his company, how do you know what he sees? Famous proverb, I wish I developed this myself, but it's from the Bible and it says, write the vision down and make it plain. Hello, CEO, write the vision down, make it plain. Pastor, write the vision down, make it plain. We go through the extensive process to get this vision so clean, then we produce it with graphic artists, then we have it framed inside the companies. And it's the proverb goes on to say, and when others see it, they will run towards it with you. You want to be consumed by the vision. Before I built, this soon to be $100 million company, I had to get so clear with the vision. Tim, you know it. We are writing and rewriting and republishing and rewriting and rewriting, because when you're conveying it to investors, the way that I got in front of a $7 billion fund within one conversation was because I had a crystal clear mission, and it was followed by a crystal clear vision. It was followed by a mission. People get this messed up all the time. This is so powerful for building healthy cultures, because unless the vision is clear, there will be no provision. Tim, you personally experienced this when you were a client,
Correct.
right? How you had no vision for your body, no vision for the health of your body, which is huge, and then vision for your economical breakout, because you were hitting a certain plateau and then
Yeah.
started thinking differently. Explain that. Give them real time.
Yeah, I mean, for those who, I mean, I know many of my connections on here know my story a little bit, but for those who don't, I mean, if you'd have known me a few years ago, I was over 330 pounds. And even from a financial standpoint, I had capped out where I was as an independent consultant. And I knew there was more inside of me. I knew, well, and my wife was a big proponent. She's always the one that's like, her phrase between her and me is, do you want to go back to Egypt? And that's a Bible reference to the children of Israel after they left Egypt. Do you want to go back? And
Mhm.
so my wife constantly reminds me of that. It's like, are you pressing forward to something new, or do you want to go back?
That's right.
So before I reached out to Coach Ron, I got to that point. I don't want to go back. I want to fulfill what's in my heart to fulfill for my family, for my wife, and for my destiny.
Yeah.
And after working with Coach Ron and starting to see that we have this amazing tool that I love, and it really shows the brainwave patterns of what you're thinking about on a number of different traits, and from both the behavioral and a value standpoint. And when I saw the disconnects, and with Coach Ron's coaching, I was able to literally connect the dots in a new way. And from there, it's like what Dr. Amen says, oh, I can be bold to launch into something new, into something different. And I've stepped out of the comfort zone of a corporate America, quote, stable paycheck job into a startup world where it's been fun. I've probably grown more intellectually in the last 6 months than I have in probably years prior to this. Because
Wow.
you've not been in a startup environment where you're handling, I mean, I'm doing these LinkedIn lives. I've never done this before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is all ways of challenging my growth and my own internal culture, which of course, as the head of growth, I do lead a team here in the organization, and this is funneling into our culture as an organization. And one of the things I also want to state on this, because a lot of you feel stuck. I've been there. I've worked for many Fortune 100 companies. You feel stuck because the vision isn't plain. The CEO, oh, they have a vision. Every CEO has a vision, but they don't necessarily take the time to articulate it in a way where you can run with it. It's ambiguous. It's a bunch of high, flashy, fancy vocabulary that
Yeah.
sounds great on a marketing campaign, but not something you can run with.
That's
But
it.
as a leader, just as I love what Coach Ron was just saying, you can create a vision and a mission for the team that you lead. Even if you're an individual contributor, project manager, or a product manager leading a scrum team or 5 scrum teams, start there. Get the vision for what you have responsibility for and run with it.
That's it. Can't say it any better. And I want to point something out about you as you're talking, that the executive coaching also created it's neuroadaptive, because the studies are that when you're with someone who is seriously focused with deep intentionality to coach you and is very intentional about it, it's very powerful. And actually, it's a misleader as well. If they're wrong, they can actually make you worse. The DNA helix inside your ear, Tim, inside your body, begin to shift and move up and down.
Wow.
And you begin to morph. What happened from there is you were able to tap different neural pathways in your body that you didn't you weren't firing before, it increased your emotional intelligence, literally increased your scope of influence. Now, let's parallel that to culture. I want to stay on the culture side. Is that in 2023, McKinney, I think it was McKinney, here, hold on, I had it referenced here. They found that employees are 5x more engaged when they understand how their work connects to the mission. 5 times more
Wow.
production. CEO, HR departments, leaders. If you're just listening to this and you need to forward it to the right person, forward it, because let the authorities speak on behalf of you. There is no operational flow. There is no congruency in teams. There is no acceleration in departments, or very little. Here's a 5x ROI proven in a 2023 study right here. Here's a leader action tip for you. Translate abstract values into daily behaviors and decision-making rituals. You got to translate this stuff,
You got
right?
to
Translate abstract values, these ethereal, like you said, these embellished, ambiguous, high volume vision, and translate it into daily behaviors and daily processes. I call them decision-making rituals, right? Where this is how we do this, is what we're going to do. We're going to follow it, follow it, follow it, and let it be very system. Quit the high-level jargon. You got to get real with the vision, get real with the mission, and get real with your people. And if you're the people listening to this, you're going, Coach, I work for someone, I want to get better. You get real with you. Invest in you. You can't go any higher than the people that are surrounding you. It's just a law, universal law. And once you realize that you are the culture, epigenetics, it is forming dimensions around you, epi, beyond, genetics. Something is making you better than what you are. This is not hidden anymore. I've been preaching this for 25 years, and now science is proving it. I had an internal unction that who I associated with was either making or breaking me. And it's sure enough true. So you can hire to better yourself. This is the full optimization of culture. It's very, very powerful and very beautiful. I think people waste a lot of their time just trying to hit the mark when they can actually isolate the mark, and then hit it. You got to isolate it first. You need the right technique on the bow and arrow. And then once it's released, bam, that's the power of instruction. Right?
That's exactly it. I'm going
Which
to pull
which
up something.
leads to, if I give 3 keys
Sure.
here, I know we only want to do 30 minutes, but this leads to real-time feedback and coaching culture where you become the coach. It's not just me becoming the coach, you become the coach. And that's what you did, Tim. You began to coach yourself. You did. You're like, I need to do this. That's coaching. You need to tell yourself this. But sometimes we don't have the wiring in order to motivate, which is tied to a behavioral trait called self-confidence. And whether you're shame adverse or guilt adverse, there's something in you that's stopping you. Our assessment gets it right out. And that's why you were able to break through so quickly. And why does this matter? Another study, Gallup, I love Gallup studies. Gallup found that 74% of employees who receive frequent, meaningful feedback feel more motivated. 74%, right?
Wow.
That's why you want to normalize this internal coaching principle. It's like, okay, my monthly development check-ins, they actually add to my reviews. Because now you're a superior or boss or manager or upline is saying, you know what, this person's really accountable. They're very proactive about bettering themselves. Because I get a lot of people, right, that come to me and say, oh, I'm not being challenged on the job. They're not giving me more work. I've hit my max. And while that may be true, challenge it by going for a peer review. Say, hey, I'd like to undergo some assessments because I'm ready to go to another level. Culture shift, Tim, or we're dynamically shifting culture.
So I want to bring up one other point here because I want to go back to your MVV because I absolutely love that. Because an ambiguous vision makes it difficult for employees to say no to worthless activities. There is a lot of work within organizations that people are doing that they probably shouldn't be doing. but they say yes to it and they fill their calendars up with it because there's not a clear direction and a consistent clear direction.
100%.
I've worked with so many companies where literally every 6 months was a new 5-year strategy approach. And so they'd set 5 years, but 6 months into it, they change it again, they change it again. Now, yes, I understand that with markets, you might have to do micro tuning of execution, but the vision should still be the same.
Yes, yes, yes. Hence the
And
vision
so,
brings provision. That's the
it-
whole half the word of provision is vision. So
correct.
everyone's always asking me to make more money, help our bottom line. Even at a billion-dollar company, they're interested. I mean, Michael Saylor, who's the big Bitcoin enthusiast, who I'm seriously watching right now, all he's talking about is increasing his market cap. That's all they're doing. It's vision, vision, vision. How are they doing that? They're already almost $1 trillion company. They probably hit it today. And here, he's still very proactive about orchestrating the vision of the company. All he does is talk about buying Bitcoin. That is part of the mission. The vision is clear in MicroStrategy, the name of his company, but the mission is we purchase more Bitcoin because they've changed their whole balance sheet. And that's a deeper discussion. But
Sure.
the concept is the same. It's elementary. What you've planned to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you've got to have a plan in place, and that is what shifts culture.
And it also balances the workload for your people because when it's specific, they can say no, which gives them time to breathe, gives
Yes,
them time to be coherent because they're
huge.
not just rushing to push widgets to get done.
That's
I think
right.
too many times because leaders don't take the time to pause and articulate the vision and the execution plan, then people are saying yes to too much. They're overwhelmed, they're stressed out, and they're literally at each other's throats. And you have a negative culture, and you, as the leader, is trying to figure out why are people leaving my company? Well, it's
Yes.
because you have not taken the time to prioritize articulating direction and vision.
That's it. That's it. That's powerful. Now, you may say, well, coach, I'm just little old me here listening. Well, there's a specific audience for this consulting firm, my firm. We're not for everybody. However, everybody can undergo a behavioral assessment. And let me close this out with this third key is behavioral accountability and ownership changes culture. Behavioral accountability. I call it the CQ quotient. Jim, I haven't shared this with you, but I'm writing 2 new books right now. And one of them has to do with cultural intelligence, not just emotional intelligence. But cultural intelligence is governed by behavior. Everything comes back down to a belief system. You either believe you're a winner or you don't. You believe you're a success or you don't. You believe you can do better or you don't. And this is the elementary process of coherence, which we've been talking about. To be coherent is to be in tune. To be incoherent, it's like listening to a radio station that's all staticky. So you're not picking up the frequency. And what behavioral accountability does, let me say it like this. I wrote this down today. The absence of behavioral standards breeds mediocrity. The absence of behavioral standards breeds mediocrity. You want to stay where you are? You want to stay mediocre? Don't have any behavioral analytics or behavioral standards. I'm living proof. I know it's affected my personal life, my mental life, my marital life, my financial life, even our physical life. So in order to eliminate it, we change and do work on a belief system. And what is an action that you can take for this? Well, what I call is building a behavioral scorecard. And that's what we provide in the assessment. Is like you're able to get a digital read for a very, very, very small little fee, not these big coaching and consulting fees. We're just call the office, set a 15-minute consult, and go through these behavioral scorecards, we call them, or these data that you went through, Tim,
Yep.
and then you'll develop a cultural contract for yourself. You will enter into agreement with your own belief systems. And this is powerful. The sun is in agreement with the moon, right? The ocean's in agreement with the land. The kidney's in agreement with the liver, and the lung is in agreement with the heart. The law of agreement is so powerful. We underestimate it in our day-to-day living. Can you agree today with yourself? I'm going to another level. That is behavioral acceleration. And it is the foundation for success and transformation in the marketplace. Whether you're running a fortune company or you're running a family, the system works the same. And I'm addicted to the process.
So I'm going to throw a question because we have about 10 minutes here. Because I want to make sure I'm understanding this right. So when a leader is casting and they have an articulated vision and it's
Right.
written so that people can visually see it, it's spoken so that they are audibly hearing it.
That's it.
Those frequencies repeated over time, are those subconsciously influencing my neurological patterns in my brain to change my behavior?
100%, Tim. This is what every athlete has done this. It's called repetition. The power of repetition. One of my quotes is, anything in life can be achieved successfully when it's done repetitiously. The problem is we're too sporadic with it. We don't do it. We're not listening. There's a biblical proverb that establishes this that you love, and I know we all love here at our firm. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the words of God. Hear his own words. It's not just some ethereal concept. This is the engrafted word, which is becoming one with you. You are becoming one with new success principles. These principles work. You just need to work them. Here's a little something funny. I believe that life or death's in the power of the tongue. And I believe that my words invoke life. And I felt it. I would speak damnation over myself. I could almost make myself run a fever.
Wow.
You speak you're a failure, you can surge your adrenaline and suppress your cortisol, and you could change your mood in a matter of 30 seconds. I do it all the time. I'll put on a beautiful love song that I heard when I fell in love with my wife. In about 30 seconds, I can shed a tear. I can play a worship song and get into a place of quietness and all of a sudden be enamored in the presence of God, just like that. And I think what I'm teaching corporate America and individuals is that you are in demand of your life. Be a commander of your life and stop allowing the outside influences in the world to dictate how you should behave and even how you should think. Command your culture, your body culture, not your company culture, right? No commanding. I use the word command because I want people to know how much power they have within them, Tim. This is what I taught you. You don't need to settle for $100,000 a year. What did I do? I honored it by giving you tens of thousands of shares. All of a sudden, you were like, wait, what just happened? And it's because you started believing in you and started showing yourself, I am worthy. And that self-worth, net worth principles is monumental for culture because this stuff can't be faked. And sometimes it needs to be trained, just like all of us. And that's where cognitive assessments work like magic. It's so powerful.
And on top of that, for teams, the work that we do in the data side of cultural epigenetics analytics
Yes.
is huge because now you can see those
Huge.
behaviors of all your individuals on the team brought together. And now we can begin to train and coach you to build that better culture, to
Well,
build
it's the fullness of talent alignment through AI. Talent alignment and fit. Are you fit for this job? Cognitively, mentally, emotionally fit? Are you fit for this position? Are you fit for this culture?
Yeah.
That's why we call it a cultural epigenetics DNA. Epigenetics, right? We're teaching companies you are controlling your culture. You can see it at Facebook. Facebook's done it masterfully. They have all these beautiful restaurants in there and free laundry and free daycare and massages and personal trainers. They have blown away all their employees' culture. It's like, oh my God, all of this is free. Why? The number one reason high performers leave is a mismatch within the company's values or leadership style. That's why they leave. There's a mismatch. We're eliminating the mismatch, and it is absolutely a brilliant tool. Every company should be using it.
Yes, and I'll put links to this after the show. And feel free to direct message me on LinkedIn to set up some time. I'm always love demoing this stuff because it is so powerful in how it can change your organization. So, culture is such a complex topic. And once again, I do want to go back for the companies that do have articulated vision and value. One of the things I want to say, because I've worked for good companies and I've worked for bad.
Yeah.
On the good companies, sometimes when you hear it over and over and over again, you tune out as an individual contributor because it's like, I've heard this, I'm tired of hearing this. How can leaders keep repeating the same thing and yet keep people engaged who have been at the company 10, 20, 30 plus years?
How to keep them engaged is the question.
Yeah, how to keep
Oh,
someone
God.
engaged with it.
The number one way to keep people engaged, I shouldn't be giving this away. This is a multi-million-dollar secret. But everybody knows this. You talk about them. That's how you keep people engaged. And this is where behavioral cognitive assessments match people to purpose rather than roles. I'm a disruptor. So I'm disrupting how they've done corporate hiring and leadership development. Is that as the CEO, I am more interested in Tim's purpose than his role. And you know that.
Yeah.
100%. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everybody on our team has got a purpose, not just a role. So if they feel like they're out of their purpose, not we're talking comfort zone. It's a different thing. Purpose, like I don't feel comfortable doing this. I could do that better. I want to empower that initiative. So congruent behavior for motivation is talk to the person about their strengths and liabilities. Now, when you are working for yourself as an entrepreneur, you're trying to break through new elements, or you're the head of HR, or you're an EVP or a VP or a leader in any capacity, and you've got the analytics in front of them, you've immediately got access points to adaptability and what we call change readiness.
That's awesome.
Immediately. And why does this matter? Another study, Gardner, we all know Gardner. This is interesting, Tim, because we're about to work with Gardner. They reports that only 38% of employees are confident in their organization's ability to navigate change. I mean, this is the problem, is that they don't have a set behavioral system in order to help you stay motivated. Now we do. This is what it is. And you can build resilience behind your flaws or behind your liabilities or behind the things that you feel that you're not good at, and by shifting them and talking about them, saying, I could do this better, can you give me a shot at this, or I'd like to take this opportunity, or to do, ask your employers, are there some pain points that you're dealing with that I can maybe think about for you?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be helped. And you show confidence by saying, I'm up for the challenge. Maybe I can do it. Does that make sense?
Makes absolute sense.
Congruent motivation comes from an internal belief system that I can. Not that I can do everything perfectly, that I can. And it's at that moment movement is made.
That is so powerful. I wrote this. Oh, I wrote down a lot of what you said. Because it's so powerful. But to people who are in positions of hiring, and whether you're a people manager within the business or you're in HR, and especially if you're talent acquisition, match purpose, match people to purpose, not roles, because
Love
they're
that.
going to thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've we have taken management to a level where we try to treat humans as robots,
Yes.
not as beings.
Yes.
And when you understand and respect the fact that we are created as divine beings that crave purpose, that's what you have to create and align to within your organization. That, of course, is tied to your vision and your mission, or the MVV, as Coach Ron says.
Yeah.
I really need you guys to really think about that, because it's a huge paradigm shift. When
Yeah.
you're used to, for those of us who've lived and breathed corporate America for so long time, all of us love the term RACI chart, which is how we define a lot of our roles and responsibilities on projects and on all kinds of initiatives. Like, what's the RACI? And there's several other iterations of it. I'm not going to get into that now. but it wasn't about purpose. It was about, oh, let's overanalyze a whole bunch of skill sets to try to get people into just right executional roles.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, before you start getting into that, you got to get people into their purpose. Because once
yeah.
they're in their purpose, the rest takes care of itself.
It's powerful, and one tool will do it. We have the best in the market, Tim, don't we? And
Absolutely.
it cannot be gamed. It cannot be fabricated. This is truth. And it is the heartbeat of your employees. And guess what? It makes them feel super valuable that you would actually take a couple $100 and invest in them. It's just unbelievable. In fact,
Absolutely.
I'm thinking to a bunch of CEOs, we need to send this podcast to, this interview to, and let's get people really moving.
Sounds great. All
Okay.
right. With that, we are at time. And thank you once again. Thank you, Coach Ron, for all your amazing wisdom and insights in this. And if you have any questions, I'm going to put some links down below to brainvalidation.com for your individual coaching. Reach out
Mhm.
to me on the corporate side, and we'd love to show you our amazing platform with validating your people as individuals and our cultural epigenetics platform as well for team culture dynamics and behaviors. So with that, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, Tim,